Hello there everybody, Martin here from Affinity for Commander. Today Alex and I will be taking a look at the new face commanders of the March of the Machine commander decks, so without further ado, let's jump straight into it. First off, we have Castler the Broken Halo, a 6 mana 5/4 legendary angel ally with Convoke, Flying, Vigilance and Haste. She also reads, whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry 2, then draw a card. At a glance, this buffed up Lightning Angel doesn't look all that impressive, however there are a few factors to consider before writing her off completely. Firstly, we have her casting cost, or more accurately, lack of a casting cost if conditions allow. It can be possible to cast Castler for 0 mana if you have enough creatures out to help convoke her. But even if you only have a couple of weenies in play, being able to bring this angel out a few turns early is a huge positive that only increases in value the less mana you need to spend to cast her. Also, Castler's Convoke ability can be used to pay for extra mana required for command attacks that you may have accrued, and you only need to look at the likes of the Revi and Firacle Tactician to see how powerful avoiding additional casting costs can be. If you'd like to see how to spot and define a powerful commander such as the Revi, then check out our video essay on the matter, which you'll see on screen now. Now it's clear to see from this card that most decks that use Castler as a commander will be looking to make the most of her Convoke related mechanic. A free Preordain simply for casting a spell isn't the best ability I've seen strapped to a legendary creature, however being able to prevent dead draws and draw additional cards a turn is something that should never be overlooked. But the biggest question I have when building a deck around this angel is just how many spells are there in her colour combination that have Convoke. Well, I'm sorry to say that prior to the release of March of the Machine, there are only 24 blue, red, white and colourless spells that can be convoked, and very few of them are actually very good. And if this wasn't already enough of a kick in the teeth, a deck commanded by Castler is unable to play some of the best convoke spells out there, such as Chord of Calling, Hokog, Arisen Necropolis, and March of the Multitudes. Now before you lose all hope of playing Convoke Tribal, it is entirely possible that March of the Machine will contain huge amounts of new Convoke cards, and is highly likely that the commander deck that Castler comes in will contain at least a handful of exclusive Convoke cards too. But even if this all comes to pass, my gut feeling is that Convoke Tribal just won't be a supported enough mechanic to make a deck focus solely around it. Perhaps there's potential to make a strong token production deck, or allied tribal that Castler can lead with a Convoke sub-theme, but for me personally there are better commanders for each of these themes already, making Castler the Broken Halo one legend that just doesn't excite me all that much.
Next up we have Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy, a 5 mana 4/4 Gremlin Artificer with artifacts you control have trample. Gimbal also reads at the beginning of your end step, create a 0/0 red Gremlin artifact creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the greatest number of differently named artifact tokens you control. Now there are 3 main factors that set our little Gremlin Tinkerer apart from the vast majority of other artifact tribal commanders. Number 1. He cares about tokens, or to be more specific, variety amongst tokens we control. Yes, unlike legends such as Urza, Chief Artificer and Bruticlad Telcore Engineer, Gimbal doesn't want to command legions of identical automatons. This restriction adds a new level of thought to deck construction. Do you go with another powerful card that creates more Thopters, or add a subjectively worse card that produces servos instead? Another method of creating unique tokens is to include a selection of copy spells in your deck, such as Rite of Replication, Quasi-Duplicate, and Clone Legion. Not only does this increase the size of gremlins that you produce in your end steps, but it also allows you to double on your most powerful creatures, or better yet, your opponent's creatures. The second aspect that makes Gimbal distinct from most other artifact matter commanders is his colour combination, more specifically the green part of it. Yes, I'm aware that other green legends that care about artifacts do in fact exist, but Gimbal is the only green, blue, and red legend that does so. And what's more, Gimbal is a commander that doesn't care about mana rocks, only creatures and tokens. This allows us to ditch all those easily removable ramping artifacts and replace them with good old-fashioned land tutoring spells. Think of it this way, you now have the ability to play an Izzet artifact deck with access to land acceleration. Just beautiful. Not only that, but you now have the capacity to add as many overrun type effects as you like, allowing your combined forces of robots and gremlins to swing in for serious damage, while you sit back with 2 blue mana open, ready to protect them. Dreams really do come true. Overall, I really enjoy the direction this commander steers your deck building in. It's quirky and unique, but still retains the means to be powerful in the traditional artifact deck sense. Oh, and bonus points for that flavor text. Puts a smile on my face every time I read it.
Our next commander is Siddhar Jabari of Zalfir, a 4-mana 4/3 legendary human knight with flying and first strike. He reads, whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, if Siddhar Jabari of Zalfir is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Siddhar also has, whenever Siddhar Jabari deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Straight away, we can make a number of comparisons between Siddhar Jabari and another popular knight tribal commander, Seguin, Hero of Ashvale. In terms of mana value, Siddhar costs 2 mana less than Seguin, meaning that he should hit the table faster than the hero in most games. Additionally, Siddhar Jabari possesses a much better keyword when it comes to making it difficult to block him: flying. And finally, while Seguin's abilities are unquestionably extremely powerful, they do require other permanents on the battlefield in order to get any real value out of them. Siddhar, on the other hand, only requires one of your creatures to attack to trigger his first ability, and doesn't even need to be on the battlefield himself in order to benefit from it. Such value. Another factor that needs to be considered when comparing these legends is deck construction. Decks led by Seguin need to contain a fine balance between knights and equipment in order to function optimally, and even then drawing a good mixture of the two is somewhat down to luck. Siddhar Jabari has the option to go all in on a knight tribal theme, with no real reliance on any other card types in order for his abilities to shine. You could even add a touch of self-mill or tutors that place knights into your graveyard in order to reanimate them with Siddar's ability, or maybe add some double strike granting spells to get 2 triggers off Siddar's resurrection effect each combat. The synergies are incredibly strong. But there is one factor where Seguin might have our latest knight commander beaten, and that is colour identity. There are currently 57 red-aligned knights that can be added to Seguin's deck, including the likes of Inspiring Veteran, Remcarless Stalwart Slayer, and Adriana, Captain of the Guard. In comparison, there are presently only 23 blue knights that can be played in Siddhar deck, the quality of which is much lower. However, there are over 250 black and white knights that can be played in either a Siddhar or Seguin deck, with undoubtedly more on the way in March of the Machine. So it isn't as if you'll be struggling to make up 100 cards in either colour combination. Overall, I have to say that I'm really looking forward to seeing how Siddhar Jabari does in my local Commander League. Building on and expanding an already established tribe with new tricks and access to alternate colours is rather refreshing to see, and I can't wait to start brewing around this commander.
Our next commander is Bright Palm Soul Awakener, a 4-mana 4/3 with backup 1, and whenever this creature attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. First off, let's take a moment to examine the new backup keyword. When Bright Palm enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on either Bright Palm themselves or another target creature. Not a bad effect by any means, but it's the second part of this ability that really interests me. Granting another creature Bright Palm's counter doubling attack trigger even for just a single turn allows you to benefit from this effect the turn your commander enters the battlefield, as well as allowing you to use it without risking that many-handed fox in combat. So what are the best ways to really get the most value out of our commander's counter doubling ability? Well, for starters, you want to be looking at ways of putting large amounts of counters on creatures you control in a single instance. Creatures that enter with X counters such as Hangerback Walker, Hooded Hydra, and Rampant Rejuvenator can be huge threats in their own rights, and even punish your opponents for destroying them by bolstering your forces or mana base. In addition to this, spells such as Invigorating Surge, Solidarity of Heroes, and a personal favourite of Martin's, Visions of Dominance, double the number of counters on one or more creatures you control, which can then be doubled again by Bright Palms, resulting in a lot of +1/+1 counters. Do I even need to mention the potential of Walking Ballista in this deck? As you can see from these examples, Bright Palm's potential to drastically increase the power and toughness of your creatures will most likely far surpass the 4 mana that you spent to cast them. But there is one catch you'll need to overcome in order to get maximum value out of your foxy friend. Bright Palm's ability only triggers when they attack, and you can bet your bottom dollar that your opponents will be trying their utmost to block and kill to prevent further counter-doubling shenanigans next turn. This can easily be addressed through A. Making Bright Palms unblockable, B. Making them indestructible, or C. Going full-on Voltron and making them too tough for your opponent's creatures to destroy. Another tactic you may not have considered when thinking about this legend is their potential to be blinked. Flickering Bright Palms can allow you to give multiple instances of their ability to the same creature in a single turn, allowing it to double the number of counters on a creature you control twice, if not more, in one combat step. In addition to this, blinking effects can be used to save Bright Palms from targeted removal, or, in a pinch, removing them from combat once their ability has triggered, but before they take lethal damage. Yes, I think that players need to keep an eye out for this commander at their table, as one-hit KOs won't be an uncommon sight in games involving this foxy shaman.
And finally, the last of our pre-constructed deck face commanders is Primus Blight of Orescus. For 4 mana you get a 3/4 legendary Phyrexian cat, who reads, whenever you cast a Phyrexian creature or artifact creature spell, incubate X, where X is the spell's mana value. In addition, he also has, at the beginning of each end step, if a Phyrexian died under your control this turn, proliferates. First things first, look how they massacred my boy! Secondly, this might actually be my favourite commander out of the 5 we've seen today. Let me tell you why. So Phyrexian Tribal is likely going to be most players' theme of choice when building a deck around Primus, and with more than 200 black, white and colourless cards that share this creature type printed so far, it won't be difficult to complete a deck like this.
I indeed saw what you did there.
Praetors? Check. Big scary monsters? Also check. Corrupted versions of former heroes? Triple check. But hidden beneath this recently revived tribe are so many different win conditions. You could compile a collection of infect and toxic creatures such as Skithiryx, the Blight Dragon, and Blightsteel Colossus to knock out your opponents with poison counters, while at the same time triggering Primus' incubation ability each time you cast a creature. Alternatively, you could instead build a pretty solid Artifact Matters deck. Remember, the incubator tokens that Primus creates are also artifacts, so you'll be getting 2 for 1 for each artifact you cast. But perhaps my favourite way to build a Primus deck is something you may not expect. Hardcore control. Now I know what you're thinking, but Martin, Primus isn't blue. You can't make a control deck about counterspells. To which I respond with, screw you, I can do whatever I want. Jokes aside, Primus has some serious stealth potential, which if utilised correctly could allow you to steal a victory from seemingly nowhere. Here's how it goes. Play some artifact creature ramp to make incubators, cast some Staxy creatures, and keep big threats off the table with a heckload of removal spells. Then, when the time is right, bam! Hit them with a board wipe. While your opponents are struggling to recover, you can simply transform all of your incubators into Phyrexians, and overwhelm them with an army that you've amassed over the course of the game. And if anyone destroys any of your newly hatched creatures, then Primus will make the rest bigger with his proliferate ability. Absolutely diabolical. I can certainly see this being one of those commanders that draws the attention of lots of players, and not just because of the badass artwork or agent of my enemy vibes going on with him. And with the hugely broad theme of artifacts to trigger his ability, Primus may be the easiest to upgrade commander in these products to alter as new sets are released in the future. Well, that is it for another video. What do you think of the new legends? Do you disagree with what Alex and I have said? I'd like to give a huge thank you to each and every one of our incredible patrons, without whom we'd be unable to continue making content such as this. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the video description. It won't cost you anything extra to purchase your products through these, but it really helps out the channel. And finally, don't forget that you can help to support us in 4 quick and easy ways: liking this video, subscribing, hitting that bell icon, and leaving us a comment. I read every one. That's it for now though, we'll see you next time. Stay awesome!